AI development continues to ramp up. The $500 billion Project Stargate was just announced, and it aims to make cancer a thing of the past.
We'll fill you in on what it is, how OpenAI is involved, who's funding it, and you might be surprised to find that the government has put in a total of $0 into this project.
Perhaps more importantly, we will also explore how Elon Musk feels about things, Gavin, because, spoiler, someone put on their big mad pants.
And the competition is not sitting on the sidelines. Anthropic CEO teases some really big stuff coming in 2025. And Google dropped an incredible new model that they named something insane yet again.
Yeah. Plus, Deepseek dropped an open source model that in some cases beats OpenAI's best efforts, and you can run it right now for free locally. That means on your computer, on your cell phone. The future is here.
And we've got a rundown of some of the best new AI tools and media, plus a story about an AI that can literally read your brain.
Okay, so the AI would know that I'm probably about to say...
It's AI for humans, Kevin. That's what you were going to say. It's AI for humans.
You didn't need AI for that. We have a script.
All right, this is a big week in AI, and the biggest story, as everybody who listens to this show, and probably my mom knows by now, is that we had a big announcement of Project Stargate, Kevin, which sounds like an old sci-fi movie because it was.
Yes, it
was.
was.
Also on top of that, this is a $500 billion, promised $500 billion investment. It's a joint venture between OpenAI, Oracle, SoftBank, and I think Abu Dhabi Investment Group, which is one of those things that had been rumored for a while that there was money going to be coming in from the Middle East somewhere to essentially create an infrastructure program for AI. And you know, we talk a little bit about infrastructure, AI infrastructure. What this is basically is building out the data centers to run all of these AI models on. Kevin, I think this is one of the bigger stories we've seen, and obviously made bigger because the president came out and kind of took credit for this. And all three of the people that came out and talked about this, including Sam Altman, Larry Ellison, and the CEO of SoftBank, all said that this was not possible without our new president. What are your first initial thoughts? And then let's kind of hear what Sam had to say about this as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise that Sam Altman is involved with this. I mean, he wanted to raise trillions of dollars in the pursuit of AI.
That was the rumor. That was the rumor.
Spend that much along the way. Well, here's $500 billion supposedly secured. We'll get to some folks that are pointing fingers and saying that's not the case in just a moment. But it is interesting to see, you know, they all claimed that this couldn't have been possible without the efforts of our new president, and the timing of the announcement was very, very interesting. But clearly, this deal was in the works for months, potentially years as well. Now, you could say that it was anticipation of a new regime being in charge, but I don't. The politics and the timing of it are far less interesting than what this might actually mean for the country, right?
Yeah.
We want to win AI. People are comparing it to the Manhattan Project, or saying when you adjust for inflation, Gavin, that this is a swing akin to the national highway system. But the difference here is that this isn't a public works project. Just because it was announced in the White House, or just because it was announced at the White House and the president was there, does not mean our government is actually doing it. It just means that they are supporting it. Maybe they're getting some regulations out of the way so that they can build power and build infrastructure to make these supercomputers happen.
That's right. And I think that is a big confusing thing about this right now, because you have the president, the new president, announcing this on day 2 of his administration. It sounds like this is a government project. Like you said, a lot of people are comparing it to the Manhattan Project, and it's not. It is a private company. In fact, so much so, if this were really a Manhattan Project, you would expect other companies like Meta, Google, Anthropic, all these other big AI companies to be part of this. If we were all trying to rah for America and beat everybody, this is a private company that launched, is just launching. And, it's been, like you said, it's been in the works for a while. The information had a story in the middle of last year, which was about the idea of breaking ground in Abilene, Texas, around some sort of data center. And that is what this is. Just a very quick explainer of why this is important is that the bigger your AI models, the more compute you need, the more the test time compute happens happens, you're going to need more chips to run those on. These are building giant data centers where they're going to put a lot more chips. They're going to have a lot more space to put these chips and therefore run a lot more AI models on them. So it is literally the same in some ways as building the freeway system. You're building larger AI models and places for the AI to run. So that is why this is an important thing. Kev, why don't we hear what Sam Altman had to say about this at the White House?
I'm thrilled we get to do this in the United States of America. I think this will be the most important project of this era. And as Masa said, for AGI to get built here, to create hundreds of thousands of jobs, to create a new industry centered here. We wouldn't be able to do this without you, Mr. President. And I'm thrilled that we get to. I think it'll be an exciting project. I think we'll be able to do all of the wonderful things that these guys talked about. But the fact that we get to do this in the United States is, I think, wonderful. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Well, okay, a couple things. One of the, Sam said all of the exciting things, we're going to get to do them that you talked about. One of the things that Larry Ellison from Oracle went on like a detailed explainer about was his belief that this particular system is going to be capable enough to cure cancer. And I know that sounds like a catch-all here, but what he was talking about was blood draws, using AI to do a detailed analysis of the radicals within your bloodstream, to sequence therapeutics to specifically target the cancers which are in your bloodstream. And within, quote, 48 hours, you would have a personalized vaccine that could be delivered to you that would eradicate the cancer in your body. And this was
Kevin, I know another person that promised this a long time ago. She used to wear a black turtleneck and she'd come out and she'd hold a little thing up and it was like a real promise of being able to do something super fast and solve so many problems.
A single prick of blood.
That's right. This is not Theranos. We
Meanwhile,
do believe
there were back
here.
rooms at Walgreens that were just splattered in blood, actually, that on the backs of those machines. Yeah, this could be the new Juicero. Maybe instead of curing cancer, it's just going to make smoothies out of your blood. We don't know, but I thought it was interesting, though, that in the utopic vision, I don't even know if that's a word, but in the vision of the utopia that a lot of the AI power brokers wield, that this was the one thing that Larry chose to focus on was the curing of cancer. And we do know that others are marching in that direction with AI. Let's all hope for that, right? Let's all hope for that being a side effect of these massive investments.
Well, and there was a really interesting tweet from Ethan Mollick, one of our favorite Twitter follows, who talked about the idea that we're rushing to AGI now, and we don't really have a sense of what it's going to do to both us or to our economy. And I think that's one thing that's a little a thing to take pause here on is if we do get AGI and ASI, like there's a lot of things outside of curing cancer that it's likely to be able to do. One of which is like really change the direction of our economy in a bunch of different ways and like who has access to it. I think Larry says the cancer thing because it's the most grounding thing, right? It's the most obvious thing that you could say on this podcast. We've said many times, we have all these really cool things that we'd love to do with AI and we think AI will be able to do when it gets to AGI or ASI. But the thing that normal people will understand best are the science advances that come with it. And later on, we're going to talk about how Demis Hassabis from Google DeepMind is starting a drug company that is going to develop drugs and kick them out very quickly. But Kevin, the other side of this that is interesting to me is that there is some real beef going on now with Elon. Sam Altman is very good at understanding how to take a moment and kind of milk it for a lot, right? And Elon has had his share of moments over the last couple of weeks. We all know that. There's been a very viral clip of Elon going around that doesn't make him look good. But Elon came out and replied to this announcement from OpenAI and said basically that he doesn't think they have the money. He literally tweeted at them, they don't have the money.
Actually have the money was his tweet with 2 million plus views as of the time of this recording.
And then he also said SoftBank has well under $10 billion secured. I have that on good authority. The funniest thing about this is that Sam then replied. So this is really public beef that we're seeing kind of play out in the world.
And again, just an ounce of context there. Elon Musk, the founder of XAI, I know we think of him as Mr. Twitter or X or SpaceX or Neuralink or Tesla, but he very much is in the AI game. He very much is trying to recruit the same talent. He's trying to raise billions of dollars and build his own infrastructure as well. So just keep that in mind as Gavin continues here.
Yeah, so Sam basically replied, at first said, I genuinely respect your accomplishments and think you are the most important entrepreneur of our time. important to do. You got to do a nice little like, hey, I think you're pretty cool. And then following up later on the tweet where he talks about SoftBank having well under 10 billion secured, Sam then directly says, wrong, as you surely know, want to come visit the first site underway? This is great for the country. I realize what is great for the country isn't always what's optimal for your companies, but your new role, I hope you put American flag emoji first. So we are looking at the billionaires battling with one another across dumb little tweets now.
Oh, amazing. Elon, the money is secured Musk. I mean, it's rich coming from him, someone who famously tweeted about having funding secured to bring Tesla private, and I think is still dangling over hot water for that tweet from years ago. So a little rich that he's saying that. Fantastic that Sam is clapping back. And even, poor Microsoft in all of this.
Don't say poor Microsoft.
I have to say poor Microsoft.
Near $1 trillion company. They don't know. There's no poor Microsoft.
No,
in here.
poor Microsoft. They wanted to be OpenAI's bestie. They were picking out the perfect nail polish for their big dates. And then, Satya's on the sideline. In fact, he was on a CNBC interview where he was asked about all this. And here's what he had to say about the big SoftBank investment.
You were investing $80 billion already. How much money do you ultimately put into this?
So this is where, Microsoft is investing $80 billion in capital each year. And this year we're investing. And I'm not particularly in the details of what they're investing.
Okay. And so, but when you look at that $100 billion commitment, $500 billion potential, I don't know if you saw Elon Musk took to Twitter and said they don't have the money. The money doesn't exist, as if this is not really going to happen. What do you think of that?
Look, all I know is I'm good for my 80 billion. I'm going to spend $80 billion building out Azure.
My paper's good. My paper's clean. I got the chips here. I'm not going to the house for more money.
It's unbelievable to me that we're talking about these sorts of numbers. And I know that people who listen to our show are of all variety of types, right? And like
mostly billionaires, though.
Yeah. Kevin and I are not like any sort of like independently wealthy person where, we work for a living. We do all the normal stuff. But when you hear these numbers thrown around, it just sounds so insane. But it does give you a sense of the kind of game that's being played right now, and clearly the stakes, right? And I think, again, we've said this on the show before, there's so many people out there that talk about the hype of AI, and they talk about how this is all just a big giant bubble. Well, we've now entered year 2 of this bubble, and the amount of money is not slowing down. In fact, if anything, it's scaling up. I keep coming back to the electricity metaphor, and I think that's something to think about, is that like, in a lot of ways, intelligence is like when we first got electricity, right? In fact, there's a great book called Power and Prediction, The Disruptive Economics of Artificial Intelligence by E.J. Argawal, Joshua Gans, and Avi Goldfarb. And what that basically talks about is this idea that electricity was this kind of thing that came out. It took a while to kind of populate with everybody, completely transformed the world. And there were winners and losers, but the electricity was the winner. Do you know what I mean? The idea that electricity suddenly changed everybody's lives, made their lives better, made things possible we never had before. And I think ultimately that's going to be the thing we have to remember, is that the intelligence is going to win. And we're going to get into this later in the show when we talk about Deepseek's new model and a bunch of other stuff that's happening. All of this money that's pouring into this stuff, I don't know if I buy the idea that these companies are going to be worth, $10 trillion to justify something like this. But intelligence is going to be the winner, I feel like. Yeah.
And the intelligence community is going to be the winner because, as we know, Oracle, famously in bed with the CIA, Gavin. Why is Larry Ellison up there? Why is he in charge of these data centers? And why are there former NSA members on the OpenAI board? Is this why everybody was leaving OpenAI last year, Gavin? Is that they?
I've got my board back here, Kevin. I've got my board.
Get the dots. I'm moving my pea jars out of the way, and I'm taking my tinfoil hat. I'm setting it aside. We are onto something.
We don't need to talk about pea jars again, because I think we had some comments about the pea mist conversation we had in the last podcast that we don't need to repeat. Yeah, we don't need to repeat. Okay, really quickly,
we need to pander to our new community, Gavin. We need to go. We've tapped into
we picked up 3 new followers that are pea mist fans. Sorry, everybody. Okay, two other quick things that are semi-attached to this. One,
Yes.
Trump also repealed the AI regulations that Biden put in. So this just goes hand in hand because it means that, like, you know, Trump is like basically opening the door and letting people come in. I think most people kind of see this as a positive in the world. Obviously, the AI safety people, I think, are very concerned about this. The other side of this, Kevin, is that there's news that came out of the information just this morning that OpenAI looks like it's going to be shipping their Operator this week, which we've talked about. Operator, this is their kind of like minor AI agent that can interact with the internet. So, you know, OpenAI is there doing a bajillion things at once. I am really curious to see like how this company that started of like 9 people, whatever, 7 years ago, and now is 1,000+ people, how the company can scale to these sorts of ambitions, I think is going to be really interesting.
Yeah, and the Operator thing, whether it comes out this week or next, I hope it doesn't come out right after we release our podcast. I know that's selfish, but will be interesting to see what happens and how people react when suddenly their cursor starts moving autonomously. Not that there aren't apps that can do that now, but a major one from like OpenAI. This is slightly different than what Anthropic was doing with their computer control, their MCP system. This is like directly read your screen, manipulate your read your screen, manipulate your cursor, click on things, you know, take action on your behalf, fill out forms. Like, this is hands off and let it ride. I don't even know if I'm ready for that. I'm definitely going to experiment with it, but there's something that feels so weird about that to me.
Well, you know, Kevin, I heard a beta test of Operator. The first thing that it's going to be able to do is subscribe to the AI for Humans YouTube channel, which is pretty cool. Not a bot, everybody. This is a human says to go do this, but you can go subscribe to the AI for Humans YouTube channel. It will also, Kevin, fill out a AI for Humans podcast review, which we have not had for a while. And I know our podcast numbers are going up and growing, which is amazing. Every week we get more, which is really cool. But I really would love to see some more 5-star reviews on our Apple podcasts. We love those. We really means a lot to us when we see them. Obviously, it also helps and affects the algorithm on the podcast side. But please subscribe. We also have a Patreon if you want to throw some bucks in a tip jar for us. All of the stuff that you do to help us make the show better keeps us coming back every week, and we really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. And to Gavin's point, don't wait for the bot to subscribe for you. Go ahead and click it yourself today. It costs you nothing, but it does mean the world to us. So I echo that. Thank you.
Okay, the next big thing we want to talk about is Dario Amodei, the CEO of Anthropic, was at the Davos Forum, which is where all the rich people in the world gather to hear about what's happening for rich people's lives. But Dario actually dropped some interesting stuff about where Anthropic is heading this year. Let's take a listen to that.
I think until about 3 to 6 months ago, I had substantial uncertainty about it. I still do now, but that uncertainty is greatly reduced. I think that over the next 2 or 3 years, I am relatively confident that we are indeed going to see models that show up in the workplace, that consumers use, that are, yes, assistants to humans, but are gradually get better than us at almost everything. And the positive consequences are going to be great. The negative consequences, you know, we also will have to watch out for.
Yeah. I mean, that was on the heels. That was on the heels of talking about how hyped a lot of this AI tends to be, and how Dario traditionally has taken a more measured approach with almost like this coin flip mentality of like, oh, we could totally get it, but we might not have the tools we need. And the beginning of that quote started out with him now being a lot more bullish about having line of sight on solving actual intelligence. And this seems to be the refrain from many of the leaders of the largest companies.
Yeah, and I think the important takeaway here is that Dario's company, Anthropic, really is seen as like one of the most restrained of the AI companies, right? They're very careful as they go along. Now, their hand might be getting played a little bit right now because everybody else is pushing so hard forward. In fact, I think there was an announcement that they just took another $1 billion from Google in funding. So they're kind of building up a war chest themselves, which is funny that Google is a big funder of Anthropic, but it is. They added on to Anthropic as well.
Right. Well, and it's Amazon is one of the biggest backers of Anthropic as well, and is giving up their new training chips en masse for Anthropic models. So it's interesting that Google and Amazon are kind of together on this one.
Yeah, and I really recommend everybody goes back and reads Dario Amodei's essay "Machines of Loving Grace." It came out at the end of last year. We made a video about it, but it is a really interesting look at the pluses and minuses of what an AGI/ASI universe looks like. And speaking to what Larry Ellison was talking about with cancer solving, Dario goes in detail about the science advancements that can come out of that. But the thing that keeps coming back in my brain as we talk about all this, Kevin, is people are so weird, right? In general, when I say people, I mean humanity. Humanity is so weird. And we're entering this time where the chaos of what this could bring to our lives is kind of unprecedented. And I think just a lot of smart people are out there talking about how that might affect us going forward. And I do think that all the times we hear about this stuff, it's important to kind of remember, learn, try, and do. All of this stuff, know where it's going. Because if you don't, you're going to kind of wake up at a couple years from now and your computer's going to make not only your breakfast, but then do the first 3 hours of your job for you. And you'll be like, what happened? Where did I go wrong? What happened to me exactly? You're
going to wake up in bed that night you had one too many at the bar, and you're going to roll over and there's going to be a robot right there next to you vaping. And you're going, what is going on? You're going to get up, and then 2 more robots are going to come in the room. Hair of the dog, and it's going to be a fever dream.
Wait, is this like a robot influencer house? Like a bunch of you and a bunch of robots are in a bro house, kind of making content?
Yeah, you'll wake up, you'll be at 1600 Vine. You won't know what happened. There's going to be half a bottle of Corbel on the pillow next to you and a bunch of robots telling you, I think you need to leave.
You look in the mirror outside, and they've written dumb human on your forehead, and they've taken videos of you. Oh, God, I hope we don't get to that. So anyway, Anthropic is obviously pushing forward. Davos is where all these people are talking about it. I will say he threw a little bit of shade towards OpenAI. Take a listen to this.
Let's do it. Everybody loves to shade poor Sam Altman. Here we go.
I think progress really is as fast as people think it is. One thing that I will criticize is I actually think it's very important now that fast progress is relatively likely to appreciate it with the proper gravity and to talk seriously about it. Some of the other companies, I won't name any names, there's just all these, it's all these weird Twitter rumors, employees talk, employees have this kind of sly winking, nod to oh, there's these amazing things we're doing here. I actually think that's dangerous because someone on the outside looking at it is oh man, that's just hype. That kind of communication gives the impression that this stuff is not serious.
No, Dario, that kind of communication gives us clickbaity headlines for our YouTube videos. We need that. That is our essence. That's our mana.
I was going to say, Dario's the adult here who's kind of boring. He's definitely not at our hype house. We're not inviting Dario over because his views are going to go down. The robots are going to be get him out. We don't need him here. But I mean, he's right? Because the OpenAI world is they're not really being as direct in their communications when they talk about this stuff. I mean, we followed all the strawberry rumors, all those things. We are getting to a place now, though, where they are being a little bit more direct. But Dario, I think, is feeling that they need to start taking it a little bit more seriously. So we will see how that happens going forward.
Well, Sam Altman did recently tweet, too, that the hype is getting out of control. And OpenAI is not working on, they're not going to announce AGI next week behind closed doors. So I feel like there is a nice little push and pull, but also Dario, the clip we did just play before that is Dario coming around to the fact that, he's way more confident now that there's going to be quick takeoff, that we will see AGI and ASI, it could happen. It's well, that's what they were hyping a year ago. So maybe they were just a little bit more comfortable to talk about it. But I don't know. I'm here for I love it. Bring the hype. I love the hype. Let's do it. Why not?
What about China, Kevin? What are your thoughts on China?
I am not able to answer that at this moment. Can we please have a discussion about anything else, which is kind of the response that Deepseek would give you. Is that where we're headed? Deepseek R1?
That's where we're headed. Tell us so Deepseek R1 is a brand new model from the Chinese company Deepseek that just came out. Tell us what it's all about.
This is a reasoning model. OpenAI has their O series of models, like the O1 and the recently announced O3, where it reasons and thinks through problems to arrive to an answer. Well, this is an open source, freely available alternative to that was trained by a Chinese company that you can run on your laptop right now. There's distilled versions of it, smaller, less powerful versions of it, but you can, for fractions of the cost of OpenAI, run the full featured version of this in the cloud. And what's interesting about this is that this model was trained not through, there's reinforcement learning from human feedback, which requires flesh bags to be in the loop and say, this good, this bad, I'm going to make this model better. This was just pure RL, just pure reinforcement learning. The same way AlphaGo was trained a while ago. What that means is you don't sit down and say, hey, here's like in the AlphaGo example, here are 1,000 games of Go that are winners. So learn what these games did and then reverse engineer how to beat the game. Instead, they say, you go ahead and play the game, play it a bazillion times. Just the win condition is what you want. So go figure out how to get that reward, basically. This is a gross distillation of the way this works. But basically, that's how this model was trained, is that it was just told to like go and figure it out and arrive to the win condition, which is the correct answer to the math problem, solving the logic puzzle. Just go figure it out. And the model did. And now that the chain of thought that DeepSeek has can also be extracted. And so people are taking the reasoning steps and using that to train other models. So now like dumb models from a year ago, open source models, even Meta's Llama, which is far from a dumb model, but people are taking the reasoning steps and applying them to other models and making them smarter. What? What did I even just say?
So there's two things that are interesting about this. So Kevin pointed out, this is dirt cheap and it is free to use, right? Then it comes from China, which we have to be clear. There are some big problems with that. In fact, it won't answer questions about Tiananmen Square. There are things that are hard coded into this data because it comes from China that are a problem. The other thing that I think is really interesting about this is that it points to the idea of the reasoning advancements, in which why the O models are moving so fast, and perhaps why, again, going back to what Ilya Sutskever saw way back when, this might have been the unlock, the second unlock after the transformer was first figured out, right? If the transformer was the kind of initial breakthrough on these AI models and neural learning, this reasoning step and how this stuff works feels like it is the next version of that. And as to your point, like if you can use this data and use it to train other models, that is how you scale insanely fast. And now we have a version of this that's running super cheap, running locally. I know you had pointed out that somebody was running this on a phone, I think at some point too, right? So like it is a pretty remarkable thing. And just to know benchmark wise, the actual R1 model is benchmarking around O1 and sometimes better. And I know that there's a smaller model. I saw a tweet about this, a smaller model. In fact, I think it's 7 billion model that is benchmarking at GPT-4o, which is pretty incredible locally on a device. So that's a pretty remarkable thing to see.
Yeah, and again, because it's open source and the model, the weights, everything is available, you're now seeing like Deepseek R1 released, and then less than 24 hours later, we've got it distilled and running on a cell phone. And then less than 24 hours later, we gave it access to the web. They can now crawl and search and get real-time information. In 24 hours from now, someone's going to have it running on their smart toaster. Like the ability to take these open source things and iterate on them and develop with them and make them better is unprecedented. And this keeps the trend alive, the one that many have identified, where closed source, these companies with their bazillions of dollars, they have a competitive advantage that seems to kind of die out around 3 to 6 months later when the open source community catches up. And this is very important for the democratization of all this intelligence. So that one particular company or government or set of bad actors doesn't have complete control over the intelligence ecosystem. Us folks have a fighting chance. And also it will trickle down so that you don't just need the latest and greatest cell phone or a $10,000 supercomputer on your coffee table. You'll be able to run these on consumer devices. Like that that's huge. Incredibly important.
That's an amazing thing. And also you can have a device that's just for you. So you don't have to share your information with other people, which is also great. Another huge advance that happened this week, which I think kind of went under the radar, but then I got a chance to play with it and I was kind of impressed. Google has updated their new Gemini model. Now, Kevin, I want to say this all, and I'm going to read this directly so I have a clear understanding of what the name of this is. We've kind of joked about this for a long time. A shout out to the people at Google who make amazing products but don't know how to name them. This is called Gemini 2.0 Flash Thinking Experimental 0121, meaning that is the date it came out. This is a brand new model of Gemini 2.0 Flash Thinking, and you have to access it through Google AI Studio. Shout out to Logan Kilpatrick, who works over at Google, that's always sharing this stuff. I went into this and, first of all, I had to find the drop-down menu and figure out where it was, played around with it. And I have to tell you, Kevin, I was pretty impressed right away with it. One of the big things they talk about is how much better it is at math, how much better it is at all the sort of problem solving things that all of these models are getting better and better at. But of course, as I do, I threw my very important benchmark at it, which is creating a March Madness bracket tournament of the world's most dangerous animals, and wanted to see how it would do. And I actually threw it a couple little different things this time. One, normally I'll just say, like, give me the March Madness bracket, make them all fight each other and tell me who wins and kind of walk through the steps. This time I said to it, I was like, assign each of these animals a stat system and then also assign some sort of luck roll based on each thing. I did it. And in text, it was fantastic. The polar bear one, so everybody knows that makes a lot of sense. And I did see a couple small things. So I went back and said, hey, it feels like the system might be a little bit off. It recognized that. It tweaked a couple of the stats. It also tweaked the luck situation and then gave me a new rundown of who won what. Really incredible. And then I said, hey, can you kick me out the code of this so that I could maybe find a way to make this something that I could share with people and try? And I got a usable code. Now I kicked that over to you and there were a few issues with it, but this was remarkable. I feel like this new Google model is very good and people might be sleeping on it because it's just not getting as much hype.
Yeah. Head over to the Google AI Studio. It's free to experiment with right now. Some interesting things so it passed your vibe check, which is always important. But from a technical standpoint, this thing has 1 million token limit, just north of 1 million tokens. That means
which is a lot.
Grab all of the Harry Potter novels and copy and paste them a few times and then jam them into the system and it will remember all that and keep it within context. So you can do detailed analysis across massive walls of text and data. That's really cool. Code execution is built right in, so you can actually run and generate code in a sandboxed, sort of safe environment right from within their website. This is just a stealthy little release because I haven't seen it trumpeted anywhere. I didn't see any massive videos or splashy anythings, but it's out and you can mess with it now for free over at the AI Studio. So kudos to Google. But again, Gemini 2.0 Flash Thinking Experimental 0121.
0121 is the important part because there's another model with that exact same name. So make sure you get the model name right, which is a very weird thing to me.
Look, the distillation of all this stuff is the line keeps going up and the costs keep dropping. And to the electricity analogy from earlier, yes, intelligence is going to be commoditized. And I hope we all have free and instant access to it all. And the trend continues.
That's right. And Kevin, in that vein, it is time to generate a new theme song. Oh, sorry.
Sorry. Is that water on your shirt?
Yeah, I just spilled up myself. You can leave that in, Will. Reverse the podcast and you'll see me take a drink of water while Kevin is talking and it spills on my face. And at the time, Kevin, I tried to pretend that nothing happened.
I'm sorry.
Wiped it off my face, but no, it's all right. It's okay. All right, speaking of all this crazy change, Kevin, there's actually some stories this week that kind of blew me away, blew you away. So we're introducing a new segment called Mind Blowers. So this story is crazy. It is a mind blower. I have not been more blown away by something in AI for a while. This is a paper right now, but we assume that this is coming from a reliable source. What this is the idea that AI can actually predict 5 seconds in the future looking at your brainwaves, which feels bonkers. Feels like super insane to me. Did you get a chance to look at this? And what is your thoughts? Do you feel like we're looking at something that looks like going to fundamentally change human life? Or are we looking at something that who knows if this is even real?
It's a cool party trick and I can't wait for the TSA to implement it. This uses fMRI, that's functional magnetic resonance imagery, which if you've ever seen studies that people put on the caps that have like the electrodes go into them basically, and it looks for blood flow changes in your brain, which light up. And so as you're thinking about certain topics or you're about to move certain limbs, there's motor skill portions of the brain. There's different sections that light up. And what this study was doing is basically feeding that data to a transformer model and saying, okay, when this area lights up in a certain way, what's going to happen 5 seconds from now? And it fairly accurately predicted which portions of the brain would light up. And that is, it's certainly interesting. Right?
Certainly points to a completely different idea of how the universe might work, or at least our sense of how it is. Now, granted, there have been scientific studies, and I've read a bunch of like pop science books where people talk about like brain function happens before motion happens in the body, and you decide things earlier. But this really is crazy. Like, I mean, this is like the very beginning stages of it. But imagine a world where this is real. And what we're looking at here is some sort of, I don't even know what to say, Kevin. This is like connective tissue to, I guess, the idea that you could predict behaviors before they happen. This is really Minority Report stuff when you think about it. Now, granted, 5 seconds is not much time. Like, what are you going to be able to do? Stop yourself from stubbing your toe? That might be useful. Or stop yourself from dropping something. Maybe or don't drink that jar of pee this time.
Making
it's like
the jokes. yeah, exactly. Maybe it would stop me from putting my foot in my mouth the handful of times that I have throughout my life. Like just 5 seconds would be enough of a buffer. But also, this is 5 seconds just with fMRI, which, that's just one thing. What about EEGs or MEGs or getting, the Neuralink kind of thing to get direct recordings of other neurons? Like there's a bunch more data that could go into a model like this. And maybe we could predict 10 seconds or 15 seconds. Maybe we could stop you from taking that sip of water, Gavin, and spilling down your shirt on the podcast.
Maybe it'll be like Adam Sandler's Click, and we'll get our own little remote controls, and we'll be able to reverse our lives, Kevin. That's what I'm looking forward to. Shout out to Click. What a hell of a movie. Let's
Thank you, Clickheads, for tuning in. As always, we appreciate the support. We have a huge Click community out there.
All right, Kev, one of the other big mind blowers was, as we mentioned earlier, Demis Hassabis is expecting their new AI drug spinoff to start launching AI designed drug trials later this year. So what is this and why is this big and why is it mind blowing? Well, first of all, we've talked about Google DeepMind and their progress on science. In fact, Demis Hassabis won the Nobel Prize this year for science advancements with Google DeepMind. What Google DeepMind has been focused on outside of, Gemini advanced fast thinking, blah, 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 they're really focused on science progress. And one of the things they've talked about forever is how can we develop drugs that can treat people faster and make those drugs faster? So we all know during the pandemic, they kind of pushed through the mRNA vaccines. You have your own feelings, I'm sure, about them. But the idea here is that you could create a drug and have it ready to try way faster due to AI. And I think that's a really significant thing that we have to keep our eye on, especially as we talked at the top of the show about people attempting to cure cancer in the future with AI. This is a company, a very, very well-funded company that is going to focus directly on generating new drugs to help people.
Now, I have a not at all well-funded side project where I'm using AI to generate new drugs, Gavin, and I have asked Meta's Llama. I have asked Deepseek now.
Is this Silk Road 2, Electric Boogaloo? Is that what you're doing?
What I want is something that is like the fun, breathy, like, it's just cool to like, dance around of like an MDMA, but I don't want that come down. I also want it to be like price point. I want it to be growable, like a weed. You know what I mean? And so like I'm putting the pieces together to use AI to synthesize drugs as well, but no one seems to want to fund my research.
Well, there might be a guy that I could connect you with somewhere. He's probably in Abu Dhabi at some point, but we'll see what we can do to get you some money. Anyway, this is a really cool thing. Another one of those things that's like from a science standpoint feels like a real mind blower. And finally, our last mind blower is Hunyuan3D 2.0. And Kev, you and I have talked a lot about AI to 3D models in the past. And this is a brand new 3D model generator that not only allows you to generate assets, but will also work on animating them. Have you had a chance to check this out?
I keep trying to run the Hugging Face demo, and it has just been runtime error after error, I think due to popularity, but I tried cloning the space. But no, the examples look incredible, that you can text prompt or use an existing image, and it will just a 2D image, a single one. It can remove the background. It will try to interpret what the full 3D view of the model is, texture it, and spit it back out. And it looks high quality. We've been covering this stuff for like the last year and a half or whatever. And we're getting there, but it sort of looks like a half-baked Play-Doh something where it's melting on itself or whatever. But the examples of this 2.0, it's actually two models together. There's one that generates the shape, and there's another that creates the high-quality texture. And they've mashed that peanut butter and jelly together into this 3D 2.0 product. And I can only see the examples, unfortunately. Every time I've tried to run it, it is not happening. But they're releasing it, though. They're going to release a comfy UI version of it. So you'll be able to run this stuff, again, for free and locally on your computer. And the quality of their samples look absolutely incredible. So I really, really want to get my hands on it.
Yeah, and then this is Tencent, right? So it's a real big company making this. This is not going to be like, vaporware. This is a company that's coming out. And it just, again, it's one of those things that when you see it and you see the graphics that come, it's one of those things when you see it and you see the models that it's exporting. And again, granted, we haven't done hands-on with it, but you just realize this is going to change a significant amount of what we do, especially when we create digital assets for video games. So it's another really cool thing. Those are our mind blowers this week. So we'll see if we bring the mind blowers back. Mind blowers! All right, now we're stepping right into our next segment, which is our favorite. These are some of the fun things we've seen people out there do with AI this week. It's AI, see what you did there.
Sometimes you're scrolling without a care. Then suddenly you stop and shout. AI, see what you did there. AI, see what you did there.
All right, Kev, we have a new robot hype video. I am so excited for this video. I've never felt more excited for a robot video in my life. Have you seen this yet?
I've seen it, but I've also heard it because the soundtrack makes me think of just like, a naughty robot. I don't want to do my homework, Mom. I'm going to go out with the cool kids. It's very emo. It is a stunt video. This reminds, like, if robots could make skate videos, this is what they would be making. This would be on the back of the VHS because it's got like a robot balancing on one leg and doing a skanky front flip.
This is just, if you're not watching the YouTube video and you're just listening, please go to the show notes for this because you have to understand what we're looking at here versus, say, even a year ago. This is a four-legged wheeled robot that is over multiple terrains, but not only that, is doing like one-legged single rolls over multiple terrains and can do all sorts of crazy stuff. Now, obviously, as we always see this, we say these are the things that are going to kill us in the future, but the beginning of this, in fact, the end of it is
take care of us. They might be caregivers.
The robot at the end of it has fireworks on either side of itself, and it looks like they're making it crazy. But this is just another insane look at where Chinese robotics is at right now. And there's a lot of people in the world that are talking about how China's real lead is in physical robotics. And you're getting a sense looking at this video, it looks like this is not that far away from doing real work. Like you can see a world where like this is the kind of like robot companion that would follow you around and do stuff with because it's that capable. So go watch this video. I was shocked by how amazing it is, and it's worth checking out.
Up next, supposedly, Hailuo just changed the voice synthesis game, Gavin. This is their T2A01 HD model, which I know sounds like a lot of gobbledygook. It sounds like a robot handshaking with another one, but wait till you hear this multi-emotion expressiveness.
Voice bears the weight of our emotions.
Everything feels so heavy.
This is the best day of my life.
I'm done putting up with this.
What if it all goes wrong?
And a voice has the power to connect us all.
Then they do the same voices, but in different languages.
Sure.
Impressive. But those first few samples of like, maybe you could feel or interpret happiness or sadness or defiance and anger within a text-to-speech voice. That's the promise of this system.
Yeah, I mean, it's very cool. We follow a lot of voice stuff, and obviously there's companies like 11 Labs that are doing voice-specific stuff and some really interesting stuff from PlayHT. What do you think is interesting about this, separating from those other companies and the things that are out there?
It's that I want the emotion out of it. Right now, like 11 Labs is really good at like cloning a sort of baseline performance of a voice, but you have very little control and flexibility to get it to be like, look, yeah, you could
But what
put
I was
6 or
gonna say
7
is-
exclamation points or a bunch of ellipses on something, but then the model may hallucinate or go out. So having granular control over the emotion of a performance is important for the next phase of these systems.
So it makes me think about what a new sort of like script might look like for AI voice systems, right? Because one thing I think a lot about when you're talking about 11 Labs is like, I'll do some dumb thing like I did that Mayo commercial a couple weeks ago. You really have to generate a bunch and kind of hope that you're going to get the right things. What would be really interesting is a scripting system that would allow you to kind of embed emotion in a line or a word. So imagine within carrots or something, you would be able to put a slug or something that would allow you to make sure that they hammered that thing home. Like it's an interesting thing of like, you know, when you see a movie script, sometimes they'll put a little bit of definition of how they say something, not that often because it's often like interpreted by the actor. But in this instance, the AI has no idea what you're trying to do emotionally most of the time. This process with Hailuo might be able to open the door to some of that, but like I think it would be great for us to find a voice model that allows you to like literally tell it how to say something in some form or another.
Well, that's the promise of this. So this was by a post by AI and Design, said that they cloned AI girl Desiree's voice and then asked her to say a few things with different emotions. And by the way, this system can clone a voice with like just a few seconds of audio. So here is a cloned voice going through some different emotions.
Babes, I'm so disgusted right now. Don't even get me started. Are you kidding me? Oh my God, you guys, I am so excited. This is the best thing that has ever happened. Woohoo! Oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. I think I am going to cry. Help! Help! The aliens are coming. What are we going to do? I am really scared, you guys.
I don't think that's that bad. It's not like
that's
amazing.
pretty bad. Come on,
Oh, no,
that's pretty bad. That is pretty bad. Let's be clear, that's pretty bad.
I don't think it's that bad.
I'm so
I think...
scared, you guys. That like wasn't scared at all.
I thought the scared one was scared. I mean, look, if you have problems with the script, take it up with them
No,
writing
I don't
the
have problems
dialogue.
with the script. I have problems with the fact that voice didn't sound scared. Play the scared one again.
Help! The aliens are coming. What are we going to do? I am really scared, you guys.
The I am really scared, you guys, was not that bad. It was a choice. It wasn't the best read, but it was a choice.
I listen. I'm going
to play an angry sample now because I'm angry with you,
So
Kevin.
mad right now, I could spontaneously combust. What in the world just happened?
Now that didn't sound scared. That sounded different.
Play that last line for me one more time, the scared line. So what I want to do, I'm actually curious to try advanced voice real quick while we have this. I just want to see what it does.
Help! Help! The aliens are coming. What are we going to do? I am really scared, you guys.
Okay, I got it. Okay. Hey, I have a quick role for you to play. I want you to say, as frightened and scared as you can, these words. Help, help, the aliens are coming. What are we going to do? I'm really scared, you guys. Say that in a very frightened, scared way.
Help, help, the aliens are coming. What are we going to do? I'm really scared, you guys.
Better.
Way better. Yeah.
Way better.
Yeah.
So
but
clearly OpenAI has some advancements there that
sure,
other
but this was
companies
a voice clone, right? So we don't know what the model was going into this. Did it just have 5 seconds of audio and I had to interpret that? That was a voice clone. And it was OpenAI's advanced voice is the best. It's just way better.
It's so cool. It's still cool. It's still cool. I think it's cool that these things exist. We're always moving forward on stuff. Kev, the other thing I want to shout out here is the Door Brothers, who you all may know from their very famous videos with politicians going into the Eyes Wide Shut party or the politicians on the CCTV that are ripping off bodegas. These guys made a 8-minute kind of TV show, which is about people kind of walking into a giant Stargate, weirdly enough. And it's pretty compelling. I mean, it's like, I think the tricky thing with AI videos sometimes when you get to the longer stages is it's really storytelling, right? It's a storytelling adventure, but I suggest everybody goes and watches this. I think this is like a good example of how you can string together these tools and make a compelling narrative. I don't think it's like the best thing in the world. I've seen people, we've shouted out NeuralViz before, do some really kind of more interesting longer stuff. But what's cool is just seeing people who are at the top of their game technically put all their stuff together in a certain way. So I thought this is worth watching. You can go check it out right now, at least on Twitter and I think on YouTube as well.
Very cool. Now, the other thing you should check out, by the way, is some would say an art form that is slipping away. But I would say, yeah, exactly. Humans writing a thing. I would say the momentum is only growing and mounting, and that's the AI for Humans newsletter. You should all go check it out. Every Tuesday morning, we drop the choicest of information. It's always fun links, fun observations, clips from the show. It's free. It's easy to sign up for. You can go to aiforhumans.show. Toss in your email. We will not spam you. You're just going to get something from us every Tuesday morning, and maybe you'll love it. Maybe, Gavin.
Maybe. And this week, actually, if you got the AI for Humans newsletter, you got an early look at what I did with AI this week, which was play around with Hailuo. They're the company that makes this, also makes the Minimax AI video model. And I played around with their character reference tool. So what this is the ability to add a face or create a face onto a video. So you give it a single image of somebody's face, and then you have that face be put on a video, but you can actually prompt the video from scratch. So for instance, there's been some really incredible versions of people playing around with this that I've seen out there. One of our favorites, FOFRAI, did a thing where he took a picture of a person from Avatar, one of the stars of Avatar, and had them walk down the streets of Tokyo, and it completely transform the main character into the avatar wearing sunglasses. There was another one where B_high on X took two characters. So there's two images in a two-person scene, and it kind of put their faces on both characters. So this is a really powerful model that can do really interesting stuff. I don't know if, Kev, have you had a chance to see kind of some of the examples of what's been done with this?
Yeah, what's wild is that, like, when I saw some of the examples coming out, I didn't know which video service this was referring to, because I feel like, again, as all these tools are racing, they kind of get to parity with each other. We've seen other tools that'll let you do 3 ingredients, like a background and a subject and an accessory, whether that's a bag or a purse or the glasses, etc. So I didn't know that some of these examples were coming out of their new S2V01 model, which is also such a sexy name.
So I spent some time with this. One of the things to be aware with this is obviously you can be a subscriber to Minimax. You get a limited number of generations for a certain amount per month. I actually did this through Replicate, which is a service that hosts different models and lets you pay per generation. This is kind of expensive right now on Replicate. It's about 50 cents per generation, but I didn't really want to sign up for Minimax for a subscription. So you can go and try for, like, say, $2.50 or $5, you can get a certain amount of these generations. And, it's very easy. You have a prompt. There's a option to put a first frame image in if you want to start it to kind of give a starting place. And then you have a subject reference file. And it's very simple. You upload a picture yourself. One thing, Kevin, you'll see in the first couple I did is I uploaded the picture that sometimes I use for my headshot, which is like from an older event that I was at where I'm smiling really big. That does not work as well as you can see in the results. I did a version of myself walking down the street in Tokyo, and I did another version of myself in a cyberpunk world. If you look at both of those, and both of those are a little funky looking because the face doesn't really fit on that well in those when you're looking at it. Also, do you notice that my cyberpunk version was given like a weird pot belly, which I also found strange?
Yeah, they're shading you. They're subtly trying to give you body dysmorphia. The smile is kind of a caked on, almost Mr. Beastian grin that doesn't move in a believable way, the way the rest of the body does. But I think the examples are pretty good. Do you feel like it captures you like in a coherent way, or does it, like when you see these renders, do you feel like you're seeing yourself?
Well, the not in the smiling ones, but the second version I did is where I updated with just a flat face of me staring directly at camera. And of the 5 generations you can see in this video, one I just did the one they had, which is walking down the street in Tokyo with sunglasses. I thought that one looks pretty good, right? Like it captured me pretty well in terms of, now I have sunglasses on, so it makes it a little bit easier.
What was the prompt that has you walking through the hospital as if you've got a broken arm?
Oh, that was actually a shout out from a woman named Heather Cooper, who does a lot of amazing AI stuff. I actually stole her prompt. It was originally a woman walking through a hospital wearing a white sweater. That one, the face is not as good until you get to a certain point, but I thought the Viking one looks really good. Like that actually looks pretty solid on me. The one of me kind of on stage doing a TED Talk, I clearly struggled with that face. And then, the DJ one at the end is just not really me at all. And it doesn't really have as much exciting things going on. But the walking around in the white tuxedo thing is interesting too. R1-R2-D2. I think this is worth playing with. If you have a couple extra bucks and you want to try something, it's an easy way to try an AI model that's doing something new. There are other models that do something similar. Kling has a version of this that you can do. I'm sure that there's a version of this that's going to be coming out from Runway and from Sora at some point as well too. This is just the kind of thing that will allow us to make ongoing AI video. And I think one of the struggles with AI video up to date has been character consistency. So now you're entering a point where you can create a character and then enter them into many different places. And I'm sure also many of the people in our audience will be like, this has been able to be done open source for a while, which yes, I know if you are a Comfy UI expert, you could have figured this out, but that is a lot of stuff for a normal person to play around with.
Yeah, you can't ever shade like the one-click nature of a lot of these tools. That's when they seem to take off. I would personally vote that we take at least 5 of our Patreon dollars, Gavin, and put you in a Casino Royale type situation, because you sitting down to the AI hallucinated roulette table where it's got numbers, random numbers and shapes on the wheel, then along the sides of the wheel, and the stacks of chips sort of like morph and go everywhere. I want to see you in the casino playing all of the games. I want to see the craps table that melts where, the dice become 12 all at once, or the slot machine has some fake hallucinated symbols
AI
going.
Casino?
Like, AI Casino is a really interesting one to watch it try to hallucinate these games.
Well, that's one of the fun things about this video model stuff is that because it's trying to do this thing with the face, sometimes the stuff in the background gets a little bit funky, which does make it interesting and fun as well. So anyway, go try this. You can try it on Replicate, or if you're a Minimax subscriber, it's available now. This just dropped. There are just so many more of these really interesting AI tools that are coming down the pipeline all the time. And if you don't try them when they first come out, you might actually forget about it. So it's definitely worth giving it a shot.
Do we want to talk about our $100 billion in funding that are we ready to announce that yet? Or?
Sure. Let's talk about that. Yeah. What you want to say what it is? Well, go for it.
We want to thank the Oscar Mayer Corporation for coming in bigly. They saw what we were building with Hot Dog City, and they've decided it's time. The infrastructure the groundwork needs to be laid for Hot Dog City to become a reality. So thank you to Oscar and Mayer, both of you.
Yeah, they're two people, which we didn't realize until just now. In fact, they live in Singapore. They are no longer allowed in the United States, but we are, and you may be if you're here. Thank you so much for listening.
Made their money in crypto, not even meat. Who knew?
Yeah, who knew? They asked me for like my email and my wallet address, Kevin. I don't understand what that means, but thank you everybody for money somehow. Thank you everybody for another fun episode. We will see you next week and on the YouTubes and all sorts of other places. Try stuff, have fun, and do it when you can.
Bye.
Bye.